That's almost like my teaching salary, and I made that in a week.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sheena Show. I have a guest with me today, Cher Pierre. And the special thing about Cher is that she is a repeat guest. But I wanted to bring her on because we are going to have a really honest talk about what it actually takes to quit your job and try and be a calligrapher full time. I know that I talk a lot about, all these student stories of people doing it, and it's so inspiring and like, oh, it gives you a sense of possibility, but like it's freaking hard. Yeah. So
Yes.
I am not one to bury that, right? Like I always try to be
Hmm.
honest with y'all about what it actually takes and how it's not all like la-di-da and click your fingers and it happens. It takes a lot of work, inner and outer. So that's what I wanted to bring Cher on to talk about. Cher enrolled in our Pro Calligrapher bundle of courses that is like the whole calligraphy and business education package, basically, right? So she started from the
Hmm.
very beginning with calligraphy, and she did that in April 2022. We last talked maybe about a year after that in May-ish 2023. And Cher, I just remember from that conversation, I mean, you had learned so much. You were progressing so far with your calligraphy. You had done calligraphy for Fantasia. Like you had tried
Yes.
lots of different things, but you were also thinking like, hey, this teaching for the rest of my life is like not gonna work for me. So I'm really looking ahead, to what calligraphy can bring me. So that was where we left it.
Yeah, I had made up my mind that I wanted to quit teaching. We were talking about the newbie to pro calligrapher challenge. And then I remember you were talking every single day about, business. You were giving business advice and all this other stuff. And I said, oh my goodness, I think this is it. I think this is where I can go next. So once you put out the pro calligrapher bundle, I already knew like I know a launch is coming. I know something's coming. Already I was ready. I was like, no, I gotta get out. I gotta get out. So I purchased the bundle. I knew 2022, 2023 was my last school year. I knew that.
Yeah.
So I made sure to save up. I save anyway, but I was a little bit more aggressive with it because I
Yeah.
knew I was leaving my full-time teaching job, and then my plan was to go on and sub. Um, so subbing is not gonna pay me the same as a full-time contracted teaching job. And the plan was to work on calligraphy while I did all of that, while I subbed.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So when we talked in 2023, that was like kind of the end of your last year of teaching was coming,
Mm-hmm.
and you had lined up something that would bring in some income, but you also had a
Yes.
fire under your ass to make the calligraphy work,
Yeah.
right? So that's a cool lesson for everybody. It's like you don't have to go either full, oh my God, I quit everything and only relying on calligraphy. There's many ways that you can kind of do something that's more part-time, and transition.
Mhm.
So what did you try at first to make your calligraphy business work?
I was very focused on social media. I felt like, if I made these great posts and I would start getting followers, I would start getting likes, I would start getting, all this wonderful stuff happening on my socials. But I learned quickly, like, nah, that's not the way it goes. It's really hard to grow your social media. It's
Mhm.
not impossible, but for me personally, I tried it for a while and I just got annoyed with it and I just
Yeah.
got burnt out with trying to do socials. Um, Trying to get the perfect caption, the perfect hashtags.
Yeah.
There's so much conflicting advice, Oh, you need to have this amount of hashtags. And then some people say, no, you don't need the hashtags at all. It doesn't even
Mhm.
matter. Or it was too much. And I just was like,
Yeah.
I was so over this.
That's
So, I started trying to figure out new ways to, attract some, attention or clients and stuff.
okay. That's a very, very common thing that a lot of beginner businesses, especially creative businesses, do. Because you
Hmm.
look around at all the like bigger creators who are like, oh, they're killing it on social media. That must be where they're getting all their clients. And
Hmm.
actually, it's like it's almost flipped. Like you have to go somewhere else to get your clients, and then you can kind of have the fuel and the content and the stuff to post on social media, right? So you're
Hmm.
totally not alone in making that, like initial assumption. So what did you try next? I know you signed up for like a vendor fair.
I did do an expo,
Yeah.
and to be honest, I wasn't sure what I was gonna bring. I didn't know what to expect. It was a big one too. So looking back, I probably took a bit more than I could chew, but I was like, I don't know. So I just made all these quotes and frames and all these things that I thought people would like be going crazy after. And oh my goodness, I really exhausted myself over that expo. And then when I got there, it wasn't the reaction that I thought.
Hmm.
Some people were like impressed. They were like, "Oh my goodness, you wrote all of this?" I did make some money, but definitely didn't make back the booth costs,
Yeah.
the materials. I didn't make that back at all, not even breaking even.
Yeah.
So I learned that that crowd was not my crowd. I learned that I had to, really seek out who cares about this stuff. And
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, so the expo was 2 days. And the second day, towards the end, actual experienced calligrapher actually came up to my booth. And we were talking, and he was like, yeah, you need to find people who cares about this stuff. That's exactly what he told
Oh my gosh. So many good thank you so much for sharing so honestly because you were so not this is everybody goes through this. I went through this
Yeah,
like in the beginning where you're
yeah,
like I love calligraphy. I assume everyone else is going to be just as excited about this as I am. And
yeah,
right, you have to find your people, but then you kind of can't learn it any other way, right? The lessons
yeah,
other than going out and just having some painful experience.
yeah, it's true.
How did you keep going? Like, what helped you to keep going, and where did you go next?
One thing that helped me keep going was even though the expo didn't play out the way that I envisioned, I did get a lot of encouragement. A lot of people were like, wow, people don't even do this stuff anymore. Do you know that they don't even teach cursive in the schools
Yeah,
anymore? And so that encouraged me a lot. But also I was like, I'm gonna be successful. I don't care. Like my business is gonna work. I don't care if this part didn't work out for me. This is just part of the learning experience. So on to the next thing.
yeah. Well, where did you end up going next?
So actually, even before the expo, the company Sip and Script
Yeah.
had reached out to me, and they were looking for a someone to teach calligraphy classes in Jersey. And I was like, oh my goodness, this sounds great. So I started to teach the classes in November, 2023.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how did that go? Were you nervous to teach?
Oh yeah, I was very nervous. Oh my goodness, especially my first class, I was so scared. I was afraid, you know, will I be able to teach people? Will I be able to correct some of their mistakes? But at the end of the class, I had great feedback. People were like, "Oh, I enjoyed this so much. Are you going to
Yeah.
come back around? I would love to do this again." So it made me feel good. And then I always remember a quote, you just got to be 10% better to teach someone.
Yep.
So at that point, I had done calligraphy for a while, so I was qualified to teach. I just was very nervous
Yeah.
because I do care about
Of
people's
course.
experience with me.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
You
you
were
paid
like,
for
you were reasonably justifiably nervous, and then
this.
you do it and you get less and less nervous. So how was that for you in terms of like, did you enjoy it? Was the income good?
I enjoyed it, and the income was good. I mean, just like anything else, it's what you put into it. So the more classes you book, the more students per class, the more tickets sold, you get a portion, and it's up to you what you want that month to look like.
Yeah.
So totally. So yeah, those sip and script payments came in handy. Trust me. Came in handy on
Yes.
multiple occasions.
Oh my
So it was,
God. I
yeah.
know.
So
You're bringing me back to like the time when I just quit my job and was like, "Oh my God, my savings is dwindling. I need to do something." But like it does give you like I love your attitude of like, "I'm gonna make this work. I have to make this
yeah, there's
work."
no choice at this point.
Okay, so when did you like start to go more into engraving and live events?
So I saw a lot of, I follow a good amount of calligraphers.
Hmm.
I started seeing all these live events and the engravings and things. And I was like, I want to do that too. And they had some really cool gigs. I mean, working for great, like well-known big companies,
Yeah.
luxury companies. And I'm like, I want in on this. Like, what do I have to do? You know? So I started to learn engraving. Actually, you had released the engraving
Yeah.
course.
Hmm.
So as soon as you put it out, I was like, yes. I went right for it. I'm like, I'm about to
Cher is, I
grab
gotta tell
this.
everybody who's listening, Cher is so loyal. I like, thank you so much for that. Every time she wants to learn something, she's like, Sheena, are you gonna make a class? Sheena, you got something for me? So, from the bottom of my heart, I'm like, thank you. But also, I want my students to go out there and fly, like learn, take in all the information you can, grow beyond me, please. And you did. I'm not going to give that away right now, but we're going to get to it. So what happened with that? I know you had a wild last December, but I want to hear as much as you want to share about like what that was like, what you had to do and what like mental stuff you had to overcome to actually start putting yourself out there.
So, I started realizing that I had to do something different. Like I told you, I was sick and tired of social media. It was about back in July last year. I was like, okay, I have to do something different because I sit up here trying to create these, nice looking posts and everything like that. And this is not moving me where I want, this is not putting me where I want to be.
Yeah.
So, I did hear about the calligraphy network, Nibtique.
Hmm.
Nipsey, which I'd seen before, but I was like, oh, I'm not ready to, put myself on that website yet. I'll leave it alone for now. But then I started noticing like a lot of people who were getting really good calligraphy jobs there on that website.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I have to like stop playing it small. Let me make my Niptique account. So I made my Niptique account, uploaded pictures and everything. And a week later, I got a message from someone from a marketing agency. And they were like, hey, we have some events in your area. We would like a live engraver, some engraving, someone to do some engraving.
Yeah.
Please let me know if you're interested. And at first, I thought it was fake. I didn't believe it. I was like, this isn't real. This happened so fast. I was like, no, this isn't real. But I messaged the person back and he emailed me back with 8 events. And he was like, which ones can you do? So I ended up doing 6 engraving events in December. So I made almost basically what my monthly teaching salary would be in 6 events.
Wow. And you said you just did them basically, it was like a week, one weekend, and then the next weekend.
Yeah, yeah, it was the first weekend was 3 events, the
Yeah.
second weekend was 3 events,
That's
and I made
nuts.
pretty much my teacher. Yeah.
And the cool thing about live events is that you do it and you're done. Damn. So what have you done since then? Like, what are you looking forward to now that you've had that experience in December?
I'm looking to book more events. I'm looking to put myself out there more.
Mhm.
I did go to a mall near me, and I told myself I got to go to 10 stores. 10 stores before I leave here. So I left my card with, a few managers. If the managers weren't there, I was able to get their information for me to follow up. When I did go to the Joe Malone store, she was so excited to see me. She said, "Oh my goodness, we're always looking for calligraphers. I'm so glad you stopped in." So I have to follow up with her,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And then you shared with me that you're now raising your rates as well because you've had that experience. And I'm going to tell y'all, I'm not going to say the exact number, but Cher's rates are now as much as mine. And I'm like, get it. Yes. That just means I have to raise my rates too. But yeah, this is like, I'm okay. So excited at just the growth, but the fact that it's just you've just never given up.
Yeah.
This is a journey from April 2022 to now
Yeah.
it's January 2025. And
Hmm.
this stuff doesn't happen overnight. Like for mo some people, I will say, some people are just like, I'm gonna go. And they have some kind of like business background or they have some sort of whatever resources to go for it. And others, if you're out there, people who are listening, and you're like, it's just not, I wish it was faster, or maybe I should give up because things aren't happening right away. I'm I'm just imploring you to like take some of Cher's I'm just not going to give up energy and, see what else is out there. So that's like, it's just cool to have the sense that like there's stuff out there that you just haven't encountered yet, like
Yeah,
opportunities.
yeah.
And you just kind of have to keep like looking around at what piques your interest and then showing up and kind of going after it. Because you were telling me before that you actually really enjoy the live engraving events.
I do. I'm a people person. I love. I've worked in retail before. I know, when you're t talking to people, dealing with people. So it's always nice to, when they come up with their bottle, and I'm like, sure. And then they're like, oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. I wish I could do that. Wow, how did you learn how to do that? How do you have so much hand control? How do you control that thing? And I'm like, oh, it makes me feel so good, because I remember, as a teacher, we do so much. Shout out to my teachers out there. Hey, I'm gonna shout you guys out because it's hard. And we do so much nobody recognizes. It's nice. I enjoy the conversation,
Yeah.
and just engaging with the people. I do enjoy that.
Yeah.
But since it was my first set of live events, I was nervous because,
Yeah.
I was, the crowd, it starts to line up and you're like, oh my goodness, I need to do this nicely. And, other people are waiting. So I
Mhm.
learned quickly, like, you have to put like boundaries, you have to set a word limit. Yeah, we need to move this line.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is another thing that is very cool about you, Cher, is that you're still after 2 years, over 2 years in our student community. And you're in
Hmm.
there asking questions, asking people like, hey, can I do monoline? Can I put a word limit on this thing? And like people are responding and you're starting a conversation and people are giving you their advice. And so I wanted to connect that into like what resources do you think have been helpful for you in your journey to like keep going?
Oh, definitely. Like I mentioned earlier, your podcast is great. As a matter of fact, my first day of live events, I played your live event podcast twice. I was like, I need to listen to this. With every tip, every suggestion, everything. Like, I need to listen to this. I want to make sure that I show up the best that I can. I want to get good reviews. So that's definitely a great resource. I have to shout out Danielle. She's another one of your students.
Uh-huh.
She's somebody we've become calligraphy besties.
Oh, yes, she
So
was Danielle. Yeah, she was on my podcast also.
yes.
Danielle.
So
Oh,
we talk almost every day. She lives in Ohio, I
oh,
live in Jersey, but we're always like, hey, this is what I'm doing. What are you doing? We're keeping in touch with each other.
yeah,
She calms me down a lot. She's always like encouraging me. So I really appreciate her. Of course, the community, I'll ask questions and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is, has anybody ever come across this before?
yeah.
Has anybody ever dealt with this before? And usually people comment. And then I've even seen where people say, oh my goodness, I'm so glad you asked this
Mm-hmm.
because I was wondering the same thing.
Yep.
And I'm not afraid to ask questions. So yeah, anything I have, I'm like, let me go into the community.
That's what makes you such a good student. Okay. And also, me, you email me a
Yeah,
lot, you DM me, you're like, hey, Sheena, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? That's
yeah,
why I asked
I
you on
do
the podcast.
email you. I do. I'll be like, hey,
So, in that vein, I'm going to ask you, do you still feel like your investment in the Pro Calligrapher Bundle has been worth it now, almost 3 years later?
my personal opinion, I think that's the best purchase to do because it you get through the whole journey of learning calligraphy from the very beginning from scratch and all the way up to business basics like choosing a name, website essentials, how to grow your socials, how to get clients outside of social. So yes, the Pro Calligrapher bundle was very well worth it, very, very well worth it.
Cool. And it's so cool to see you just like that was just the start of your journey. So that being said, okay, How, what would you say to someone who's kind of in a similar situation where they might, even if they're not a teacher, they're just in a job where they're like, I can't, I need to end this and I need to find something else and I'm scared, but I just can't do this anymore. What would you say to them?
Would definitely say you need an exit plan. Um, most There's a lot of misleading information on the internet about entrepreneurship where people are like, "Oh, I walked away from my job and became a millionaire in 6 months." No, that's not how it works. It does not work. It doesn't. You have to have a plan. I sub. I make sure that, I had savings and then I sub. And to be honest, I don't live alone. I live with two family members. So that helps, a lot too.
When I quit my law job, I moved in with
Yeah.
my best friend at the ripe old age of 35 or however, 37, however old I was. And yeah,
Yeah.
he gave me an
Yeah.
amazing rent. And that's the only way I was able to like keep my sanity while I was trying to build a business. That's the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely come up with an exit plan, go over your finances, see, what it's supposed to look like, um,
Yeah.
with lesser pay if you have to take a pay cut in the meantime. And definitely, I feel like for me, I don't have a choice. This has to work. This has to be successful. So I don't want to go back to teaching. I don't.
Yeah. Well, okay. I also want to say, so you told me that your plan for this year, 2025, your goal is to make your teaching salary with calligraphy.
Yeah.
And I love that you actually mapped it out. Like,
Mhm.
okay, this is how much I need, how many jobs I need to book every month, every week. This is how I'm going to go after it. Bravo.
Yes. So my goal this year is because I want to get out of school altogether. I
Mhm.
don't even want to go sub anymore.
Yeah.
So my goal this year is to match my teaching salary, my last teaching salary with my calligraphy business. That's my goal.
Yeah. And it looks like you've got a lot of avenues. Like you've got some good, you like the engraving, you like the people part of it. You're just going to get better and better with your actual skills. And you have an in with Joe Malone and you have an in with this person who reached out to you. So I'm really excited for you. Is there any final words you want to say or anything you want to share?
Um, hmm. I would say definitely step out your comfort zone. I've done a lot of uncomfortable things within the last year, many uncomfortable things, yearish, and I'll say almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Um, and also one more thing I want to say is for people who might feel like, oh, I don't know if I could do this. Think about how hard you're working where you are now, wherever you are right now.
Oh.
What if you were to take that energy and put it into something that's yours? And that's what I think all the time. I'm
Mm.
just like, I was going, as a teacher, I really worked hard for my kids. I sacrificed a lot for my kids. And I did a lot of weekends and evenings and, just working hard for it. And I'm like, okay, now I want to take that and put it into something that I'm building. So yeah, sometimes I'm up, throughout the night, or sometimes I'm like looking at stuff over the weekend, but it's for me,
Yeah.
and then I know when you start with business, you gotta set boundaries and stuff. I'm getting there because sometimes I'm like too engaged. But that same energy that you're putting into that place that you hate, put it into something for yourself and you'll see amazing things happen.
Oh, that is so good. I've never heard it put exactly that way, but yes, 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 yes. You are directly benefiting, you're directly growing, you're directly learning. Like it's all gonna become of service to you in your
Hmm.
life. Amazing. Thank you so much, Cher, for sitting and chatting with me.
Yes, thank you
And
for having me.
yes, okay. And final question, where can everyone find you?
Oh, so all my socials are the same. So SP underscore EKRITI. So SP Equity is the name of my business. So Equity means handwriting in Haitian Creole.
Hmm.
So that's where that word comes from. All my socials are the same.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And we'll, of course, link it and everything down below.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Cher.